But first, you have to get these measurements: your bust measurements, chest to waist measurement, waistline measurements, waist to hip measurements, and your hip line measurement. Next is making the top pattern. I draw a rectangle with 18 inches width, which is the measurement of my neckline, and 12 inches length, which is the measurement from my chest to the waistline. Before cutting, I added half-inch allowance in each side. The top portion must be unfolded. Next is making the skirt or bottom pattern. I also draw a rectangle with 20 inches length, which is the measurement from my waist to above the knee, and 9 inches wide, which is the corner of my hip measurement. The top line is my waistline, and one edge should be unfolded also. Then, from my waistline, I marked out 8 inches, which is the measurement from the waist to my hip line. Then I draw a straight line, and it will serve as the hip line. Then, from the top edge, I marked out 8 inches, which is the corner of my waistline measurement. Then, from that point, I draw a curved line up to the hip line, using a French curve. Then I added seam allowance, 1/2 inch from the top, and 1.5 inches to the sides, and 1 inches from the bottom. In this DIY, I used 2 yards of light satin fabric. And the next step is transferring the pattern to the fabric. I cut 2 pieces of the skirt. Then next is I cut strips of fabrics. 2 pieces with 3 cm wide and 60 inches long, which will be the back ties, and 4 pieces with 3 cm wide and 32 inches long, which will create the ruching in the sides of the skirt, and another 4 pieces with 3 cm width and 2 inches long. I fold this in half and use pins to hold it in place, then sew along the pins. Do the same steps to the remaining strips of fabrics. I bought this recently in Shopee and it really saves my time. I will put the link in the description below. After sewing all the strips, I turn it right side out using the safety pin method. Since this kind of fabric is spraying a lot, I decided to top stitch the strips to secure it, just like this. After that, I attach the 2 longest ties in the main bodies. Always use pins to hold everything in place. Also, I'm sorry if the next clips are out of frame. I accidentally bumped the camera and didn't notice it is out of frame already. Also, I divide the sides in 3 equal parts. I put 2 marks in each side, where I can put the 4 small pieces of strips. After inserting, sew the side seams. And the result should look like something like this. I also sew a zigzag stitch in the sides to prevent from fraying. Turn it right side out and position the long ties in the back part. The next is the skirt part. I sew first a zigzag stitch in the sides of the skirt, but it turned out not pleasing because it frays so much. That is why I decided to hem it instead. By folding it 2 times, use pins to hold it in place and sew along the pins. And the result must be something like this. I also hem the bottom edge of the skirt. After that, put the 2 pieces right sides together. I use a clip to hold it in place and sew along the sides with a straight stitch. Sew the sides with 1/2 inch allowance to create a casing for the ties. Just like this. Then I fold it inward and sew along the edge. Do the same steps to the other side of the skirt. And the casing must look like this. Then the next step is inserting an invisible zipper. I use black because this is the only available, but better to use a red or maroon one to match the color of the dress. I mark where I can put the zipper and cut it open. Then sew the invisible zipper at the back of the dress right sides together. And this is the result after sewing. Then the next step is attaching the ties in the sides of the skirt using a safety pin. Do the same steps in the 3 remaining casing. I also use the clips to hold it temporarily. Then the next step is attaching the main bodice to the skirt. I get first the center of the main bodice and the center front of the skirt. Match first the center of the top and the bottom pieces. Then pin the rest before sewing. I also added 2 darts at the back of the skirt. As you can see here, I already finished the raw edge of the waistline at the back, but I redo it to sew the darts. The measurement of the dart is 1 inches width and 4 inches long. Then sew it just like an inverted triangle. Finally, the last step is hemming the raw edge in the waistline. And I finished this DIY. This dress is so perfect for the Valentines, especially if you have a date. I also made the measurements simple so the beginners can follow the sewing. I hope you enjoy watching. If you want to try this, please tag me in my Instagram account. I hope you like it, and if you do, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and on the notification bell so you will see my upcoming DIYs. And I'll see you next time. Bye!